Hello and welcome to this training video. My name is Daryl Boger and I'm going to teach you a little bit about the Yamaha TF5 mixing console. And whether you're new to mixing or just looking to expand your knowledge, this video will probably help you get started with the TF5 anyway. We're going to explore some features, how to set it up, and then demonstrate a couple things, and we'll see how that goes. So in this video, we're going to cover the console basics. We'll check out the channel strip and how it operates, some mixing techniques, some basic mixing techniques, and then a few advanced features as well. So let's dive into it. All right, so now let's dig into our channel strip overview. So our channel strip are any one of these single strips here, and this is going to control a specific track or specific input on our board. Right now I have these inputs tied together because this is a stereo device that we're putting in. We're coming in through Spotify, so we'll be pushing the music up with our faders. But we want to talk initially about gain staging. So gain staging is the assurance that you have proper signal that's of the proper volume and it's clear of distortion or noise. And to adjust the gain, we're going to go ahead and click up here on the channel strip of whatever we want to. And now we click twice and we can see that there's our gain. We can take and adjust our gain with our knob, and it adjusts both gain. We don't want it to hit the red. So if we want a little bit better example of what that looks like, we can hit the Q button down here, and our gain will then show up on our level meter over here. So gain is the input level into the board. Our faders down here don't adjust the gain. This is strictly the input gain, and so we want to make sure that that gain at the loud parts does not get red or peak. And just another quick aside, we're aiming for levels that are about -6 dB. And as you can see there, we're not going much past -6 dB. We're staying down around -9 for the most part in this loud section. Okay, the next section we're going to talk about is the equalizer section. And the TF5 offers high pass and low pass filters, as well as fully parametric EQ for precise tone shaping. Let's start off by rolling off the low frequencies with the high pass filter to clean up some of this low end. So if we select this, we have our high pass filter, and we want to turn it on, and we can run it down to roll off that low end if we want to. Now this is a stereo feed coming from a computer that is not necessary for this sort of operation. So we'll leave that off. We can, however, utilize our equalizer section to bump up the bass, give a little high shelf. That sounds really nice. Now if we want to take this middle curve or any of these curves and widen or narrow them, like I don't like having this deep or wide bubble. I like having a narrow bubble here, narrow bell curve. So we take and we can pinch to spread out or to tighten up that curve. I like that. Okay, next we're going to talk briefly about dynamics processing and how and where to find this. So our channel strip, this panel is fully touch screen, and if we look here, this line here is our processing, our gain processing, compressor, I'm sorry. So our compressor is just at a basic in and out rate. We can go into a much more detailed video on how compression works, and we will do that in the future. But for our purposes here, this is where you find your compressor. And for most rooms, just a soft compression is your best way to start. Go from there, experiment around, but don't overdo compression. Next, we will talk about effects and how to route our effects. We will find our effects in a similar spot as we did prior. So our compression is here. We have our EQ, Our compression, our effects are down here. So if we want to adjust how much effect, we just take lots of verb on that now. Now, because that's an audio input of a traditional audio source, we do not want to have all that verb on there. So we do not need any sort of reverb on this channel. Okay, the next section we want to take a look at, if we come back to our channel strip, is looking at our sends. So this is where we can adjust all of our outputs, sending it to various monitor mixing sources. So we can send each one of these signals to any one of these mixes that we would like. We don't necessarily want to do that. And so that would be how we mix up a specific send. Now, if we want to do this a little bit easier, we can select our track and we can hit one of these side buttons here. So aux number 1 would be monitor mix 1. And now we can take and adjust our monitor mix here and push that out of the monitor if we would like. Just like that. Similarly, we can move to aux 2. You can hear that come up on the monitor down on the stage. Now, the one thing for Kalkaska Church of Christ that we use is our mix 8 is our subwoofer feed. So this controls our overall sub mix. And that's how we would mix in a lot of bass into our room. Okay, in this section, we will talk about channel output and routing and how to move channels to aux sections and subgroups and DCAs. So if we come back to our channel strip, we can find all that information by clicking here, and we can go to our subgroups. Here's how we would change to a DCA. So DCA for this one is not assigned. Oh, it's assigned to an aux DCA, DCA 8. Now, if we want to send it specifically to the subwoofer, say, here is our sub output. And we can do this in a little bit easier fashion by coming over here to our aux mixing section and pressing aux 8. That will then allow us to mix strictly our subsection. So we can mix this up into the subs. We want to mix our high end up into that as well. But you can see that when we move this fader, it also moves there. Guess you can't see that right now. You'll be able to see it move there. So it moves with the fader movement. And then again, this is mixing just the subwoofer send. Okay, one of my favorite features is the scene recall and how easy it is to do this. So we call up our scenes from over here in the corner. We can see that we're saved to KCC Sunday. We're going to save a new preset right now. So we come down here to an open spot, A07, and we're going to go ahead and store that. We'll say that's KCC Sunday 2025. And then we OK it. And it's asking, do we want to save it to the memory? And we sure do. Boom. We save that. Now if we want to recall something, we just go up, we hit that recall button. Now we're on a whole different scene. Let's go ahead and recall the one we're at. All right. Well, hey, thanks for watching. We made it through the basics of the TF operation, and I hope you found it somewhat helpful. A couple notes on basic mixing. We want to make sure that the room is just clear and crisp over loud and boomy. We want clarity. We don't want to have to push volumes so loud and that they start competing with each other. So we want to carefully listen to each one of the instruments, how they might sit in the mix, and what that instrument is supposed to sound like. Use our EQ to tone shape that, use our dynamics to kind of process some of the loud and quiet spots. Like a bass guitar maybe, we want to boost some of the low end, cut some of the high end, but we also then want to use a compressor to really make that bass ring out in every note that it plays. We want to make sure that it's heard, that it's felt, but it's not overbearingly loud. Same goes for, and then we don't want it to maybe compete with a piano that's in the mix, that low end of the piano. So we want to make sure that those different instruments sit in different spots as we're mixing them. And we also want to make sure that vocals sit above the mix in general. So my hierarchy kind of is like this: is vocals are at the top of the pyramid, and then it's supported by the higher instruments. So high-end piano, keys maybe, and guitar, acoustic and electric guitar. Then we have this middle mix spot where you find that middle end piano, a lot of keys now fit in there. Any sort of horn instruments, that sort of thing, might fit more in that middle section. Synths, that sort of thing. And then we move to the bottom where we have the bass and drums that really fill out that bottom end and provide a solid base to the mix. So I usually mix from bottom up to that pyramid where I mix my bass and drums to sound nice in the room, not overly loud. Then I add in a guitar or keys, that mid section, maybe piano first, to really get a nice middle of that pyramid going, and then move up to the higher end instruments with vocals being last so that they sit nice and cleanly on top of the mix. Now, the best way to practice this stuff is to get in a room, get behind a console with a band going, and just experiment. Have some fun. Try not to trash your equipment for sure. But test the limits, see what you can do and what it can sound like.